here for her new book called The American Dream with Sprinkles. So I'm here to do an interview, and yeah, let's start. All right, so here we have Maylys Childhood. She's LA's self-proclaimed donut princess, owner of Donut Princess Los Angeles, a donut banquet delivery concept, host of her own podcast called Short and Sweet, where she explores mindset, woman empowerment, and entrepreneurship. She also stars in the Donut King documentary, which is seen on Hulu and domestic flights all over across America. She has her own YouTube show where she visits Cambodian-owned stores and help highlight their stories. So, Maylys, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah. So, I want to ask you a few questions. I read the book, and your mom's story was something that hit me the hardest because it made me think of my mom. I didn't get a chance to talk to my mom. She passed in 2017, and I wasn't able to talk to her about her story. So here, having Maylys and her mom writing this book, I think it means a lot, and it's going to bring a lot of value. So hopefully you guys can resonate with this and hopefully understand the message that we're trying to put. So, all right, so Maylys, welcome to Phnom Noodle Shack.
Thank you. The best noodles in town.
All right.
I mean that though.
Yeah.
My mom is very, very picky. She's an amazing cook. And when I took her here for the first time, she finished the entire bowl.
Yeah.
The broth is so flavorful. It's so good. You guys definitely have to come try that.
Thank you.
I tell all of my friends to come here.
Thank you. If you guys haven't read this book, I recommend reading this. But for those who don't know her story, so first question I want to ask you, maybe talk about your childhood and let the viewers and listeners know, how you got into the donut industry and why you got into it as well.
Well, my background is actually Teochew, Khmer, and Thai, and my parents, they actually survived the Khmer Rouge, which you guys will read about in the book. And my childhood was my grandma would watch me because my parents would work, 16 plus hours a day at the donut shop and the other businesses that they had. And my childhood was always surrounded by the donut shop. So, after school, my dad would pick me up, we'd go to Costco, we'd get all the items for the shop, we'd go back to the shop, or my dad's doing bookkeeping in the back, or I'm running around in the shop, like sitting on the tables and talking to customers. I also was helping my parents at the age of 6 with their donut shop and, helping them give change, spell things correctly, and just be around it. That was both my daycare and just where my parents were all the time. And I, helped them at the store every day. That's what I did. And if I wasn't there, I was hanging out with my grandma, and my grandma made me some good food. Luckily, I was able to get a good education. I went to, middle school, high school, college at UCSD. I got a communications degree, and my mom, before she left, she's like, you know what? You should be a news reporter. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. I tried it. I interned for San Diego 6 News, and I absolutely hated it. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? My mom's gonna be so disappointed that I went to college and I didn't come back and became a news reporter. So when I came back, my mom's like, so what are you gonna do now? I was like, I don't know. I don't really feel like news reporting was something I felt so passionate about that I could wake up every day and feel like my life could mean something out of it. And so she's like, well, you want to help at the shop? And I was like, yeah, okay. I didn't know that I would make such a big contribution to the shop after I stepped in.
Wow, okay. I can relate to that. I was lost too. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm sure most of us don't know what to do. We just got to continue trying new things and eventually hopefully something click, right?
Yeah.
So this restaurant fell into my lap, and I wanted to help my dad and my mom as well. That was something that I'm very passionate about. So that's what I just stuck to it, even though I didn't enjoy working here as much. We had a lot of arguments and stuff, but I continued sticking to it, and I'm happy with where I'm at now. So hopefully, for those who are lost and don't know what to do in life, just continue try new things, and eventually you'll find something that you really like. So
I feel like, to add on to that, when we grow up in a family business, we of course don't want to be here. We don't want to be around somewhere where our parents are working, it's busy and it's crazy. And we don't really like to help out on the weekends too, but we do. We do that, but we do that to honor and respect them. And learn what the value of hard work really is.
yeah,
But once you get older in life and you accept it, kind of like you, it's like kind of like fell into my lap of like, okay, now let's run it. It was almost a blessing in disguise, because some people don't have the opportunity to be able to take over their family business and to make it into something more.
yes, that's it. So yeah, so all the trauma that I've been through and all the adversity, I'm sure we've all been through some kind of struggle, right? Now I used to see all that as a curse. Having this restaurant, I used to see it as a curse, but now I see it as a gift. And it took me so many years to see that, but now I know what I need to do and what I have to do, and to represent our culture, our community, and to be proud of who we are. So that's something that I'm really deeply that's deeply important for me. So all right, so I have a few more questions. Reading this book, I kind of want to talk to you about your mom, because that's how it started off, and there were some things in here that I read that hit me really hard. I kind of want to read one of it, and you can tell me how you feel about it. It's something that I never, like, when I read this, I kind of empathized with her, and I'm trying to picture myself in her shoes.
Yes.
And just reading it, I felt like I was there. So here's something I read that hit me pretty hard.
There were thousands of us, like zombies walking in despair. So just a side note, this is what happened. Just imagine one day you wake up and you've heard of all these things in the distance, like bombs. You've heard there's, to flee. There's a little bit of like rumors of things going on, but you wake up one day and there's a rogue group. They force you out of your home, out of the city, out of everywhere, and they force you down a road to go into the jungle. They take away all your belongings, and you're just kind of corralled with thousands of people. So this is where I'm talking about. There were thousands of us, like zombies walking in despair. We had brought whatever we could carry, which included some preserved foods and pots and pans. Our hasty departure did not allow us to bring more. We walked every day from sunrise to sunset, and we lived under the trees in our family bamboo rug that we had managed to bring along. We walked for a whole month as soldiers surrounded us, ensuring we were headed towards the right direction, into Pol Pot's plans of slavery or death. Thousands and thousands of people were marched into the deserted jungle, not knowing what our ultimate fate would be. We ate anything we could find to quell our eternal hunger: spiders, snakes, frogs, rats, fish, crab, snails, even anything we could dig from the dirt. We took a pot, threw whatever we found in it, and garnished it with a bit of salt and ate it. Sometimes we didn't even have salt. Nobody shared with others. It was each family for themselves. Sometimes there was nothing to be caught, so we would cut trees and leaves or amtoy, potato leaves, tar leaves, anything to survive. Feeling hungry all the time became normal. I daydreamed of the fresh food my mom would make for me, while all I could hear was the rumbling of my stomach.
Yeah, so for me as a foodie, and I'm sure you understand, like hearing that, it's just suffering, and just imagine you're there, your parents, put yourself in their shoes and what they've gone through. We can't comprehend what they've been through. We're just so fortunate to be here. So, I want to, thank Maylys and her mom for telling her story and writing in this book for all of us to read. And I recommend you guys purchasing one of this book.
Yeah, like the excerpt that I just read, one of the reasons why I wrote the first part in first person was exactly that. I wanted first and second generation Cambodian Americans to visualize what it was like to be our parents back then. And they were like 9 years old, 15 years old, like anywhere around that range. So just being in a war-torn country and being forced out of your homes and not having anything to eat, not even salt to go with rice.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy that they went through these like crazy survival stories. And my hope is that, yes, we grew up here in America and we had a better opportunity, but my hope is that you might find a little bit more compassion for our parents who maybe they have PTSD, where, you know, for example, my mom, she's a hoarder, so she'll like save a lot of like things. And for me, I think like she might think one day it could happen again.
Yes.
Like I saw she had like kind of like tarp material, like, knives, like kind of in certain areas. I'm like, why do you have it there? Like, why do you have so many like containers? And I think it's just the resilience of like what had happened to them, and they just think it might happen again.
Yes.
I think it is so sad that they had to go down and, you know, eat spiders and snakes and things that they could find in the jungle, and they were kind of reduced to that of like they didn't give them enough food to survive.
Yeah.
They only gave them like a small like little porridge thing, maybe like some salt, and that's it. And it's just so sad because I feel like for us, we definitely like ate really, really good. You know, I don't know about you, but I feel like Cambodian food is like the most flavorful, the most exotic type of food out there. And to know that like our parents had to go through like so like four plus years, maybe more if they stay in the refugee camp, of just like really not great food.
Yeah. So, you know what she said, and you know, it's we're struggling now. I mean, imagine what's going on currently in this world right now. Living in America, the problems, I believe, is always going to occur. You know, it's never going to go away. It's just, I believe, it's how you respond and how you handle those problems. That's the most important. Yes, you know, her mom and our parents, you know, we were going through all the suffering and the struggles. It was a storm, right? We were in a storm, but her family, her mom especially, she's seen people who were compassionate and kind towards her, and gave her hope, made her feel like humankind is not lost, it's still there. So I believe the storm is here, but I also believe the storm will pass. So that's something to keep in mind, and I believe there will be brighter days ahead. So again, back to your mom's story. You know, when she talks about family and how passionate she is and how much she cares about her family, you know, that, you know, it makes me think about my mom. You know, she sacrificed so much. You know, she had to grow really fast to take care of everyone. You know, because everyone, most of her family were weak. They didn't have the mental strength and the fortitude and the resilience to keep pushing forward. So I believe there's got to be one person in the family to do that. Maybe talk about you know, how we can overcome adversity, what we can do, and you know, and how much family means to you.
Yeah, I think, well, my mom's display of family, especially in the book, is incredible. You know, she had 7 brothers and sisters and her parents, and when they were working in the camp, my mom would see my grandma, which is her mom. You know, she's a little bit bigger, and she had knee problems, so they're in like knee-deep rice farms, working from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. So by the time my grandma, her mom, would get to where to eat, there'd be nothing left. My mom would literally sacrifice her food and just give it to her parents to keep them alive. When they were, you know, out in the jungle, my mom would volunteer. Okay, I'm gonna take my brother, let's go find some food. There were moments again of kindness in certain chapters as well, where she goes and she makes broken rice. She works for this whole family so she can bring the rice back to her family. And I think the theme is sticking together. You know, back in the culture of my family, it's all about sticking together and honoring your parents. Now that looks a little bit different in today's day and age, but for her, it meant to keep them alive for as long as possible. My mom was not afraid. She was a leader, you know. She was the one who constantly brought food or money to the family, and the way she dealt with adversity is so amazing to me. You know, she's one of my role models. Is like, how can a little girl like that muster up so much energy and grit to be able to overcome that? And so when I'm living here in America and I think about my adversities, it's not anywhere near the things that they had to do to survive. I think if they can survive that, then I can do anything, because we are living here in America with so many more opportunities, so much room for growth, and we have to take advantage of that. So for me to honor my mom, not only through the book, but through my future careers, I feel like it shouldn't be, yes, it's hard, but it's not as hard as surviving a genocide.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, I have my own struggles. We all have our own challenges. It's again, like, it's how we respond to it. It's the people that are in our life currently, and we do need those people to help bring us out of darkness and back into the light, right? So, I admire what you guys do, and when I saw you guys, I remember going to LA. I've seen California Donuts. That was the first place I saw. But then when I went to your place in DKS Donuts, I'm like, dude, I feel like home. I feel like this is my family. It just makes me think about my place here.
Yeah.
And what you guys do. It's like we relate so much.
Seriously.
So I think we're meant to meet. We're meant to,
we're meant to, represent our generation.
Yep.
And basically just like you said, like, even when I walked in here, it also felt like home. It's this like tight-knitness where you just like feel like a sense of belonging, where in many areas of our culture in America, we don't really find that same belonging.
Yeah.
Like, I've always felt like an other. Like, I'm not, they say, you're part Chinese, do you speak Mandarin or Cantonese? I'm like, like, neither. Like, I speak a small village dialect. Oh, okay. Oh, you're not North Asian or East Asian? No, I'm like, I'm South Asian. I'm Jungle Asian, We're a little bit different around here. But yeah, I mean, it's so great to meet people like you who are operating a successful business and now sharing this amazing same like intention of like keeping our culture alive and preserving our parents' legacy.
So for you growing up, when people ask you what race are you, were you proud to say I'm Cambodian?
Honestly, not even when I was younger. They didn't even know where Cambodia was. They were like, oh, that's cool, but didn't really ask any other questions.
Yeah.
I was more grouped into, you're an Asian girl. You're like the Asian girl. Like in my high school, I was the only Asian girl. Yeah, so when I went to UCSD though, there was a lot of Asians, but I'm still not any Asians that look like me. So I still, even to this day, I have you're probably one of my few Cambodian friends, but I still have so much love for the culture, and I just still want to keep these stories alive.
Yeah, I understand that completely. For me growing up, I always, when people ask me, what race, I would go directly to Chinese. I am half a quarter Chinese, but I was embarrassed of my race, because where we lived, it was in the hood. People were in gangs, doing drugs, and other people looked down on us. I remember at school, a teacher kind of brought up, don't go to the east side. The east side is ghetto, and those people are dirty and stuff like that. And that hit me, and it made me feel like, okay, it made me feel more embarrassed to say I'm Cambodian. But as I grew older, I started realizing the truth. I started learning about our culture. I started seeing, the good in what we do. I started seeing the resilience, the determination, the passion, all the good stuff that I wasn't thinking about back then about our culture. Now I see it, and I'm happy that I'm at a place where I can say I'm truly proud of being Cambodian, and I'm proud to see Maylys, talking about representing her family and our culture, because we all need to tell our story. It is hard to do at first, but when you do, I believe it's going to be amazing, and you're going to help so many people. And thank you for writing this book, and so far I'm loving everything about it.
Representation matters. That's just something that I always say of why I'm still telling these stories and why I feel so passionate towards it. Is we live in America. It's like a melting pot. But in so many ways, Asians are now coming out of the spotlight of now you're seeing Asian actresses and actors Hollywood, which is great. You know, I never saw any of that growing up except for like Bruce Lee or anything.
Yeah.
Now there's like now there's like Asian creators like on TikTok and Instagram, and that's cool. But there's still not enough for us as mixed races, Chinese, Cambodian, Thai, whatever you are. We still need to represent what we're up to and what we stand for.
Yeah, we're the minority of the minority,
Exactly.
Right? So we need to be even louder, right?
Yeah.
And speak up because, you know, it's the highest rank in Asian culture is Japanese, Korean.
I didn't know that.
I don't really know, but I mean, in terms of standards, right? You know, they have higher standards, so we need to bring up our standards.
Yeah, I think
I
also the fact of like now we find our power to stand up and speak up.
Yeah.
I think for so long the past generation would actually say do not voice your opinion and do not stand up. And I really think that stems from how they were treated and taught in the Khmer Rouge. So for those of you who don't know, one of the ways that Khmer Rouge actually had tactics was they turned Cambodian people against each other. They had them be jealous of each other, and they really like had them pit themselves against each other, our people versus our own people. And it was also a lot of propaganda to not speak up. So a lot of our past generation, they're still living in fear. They still don't want to talk about it. They're kind of scared to talk about it. And I think it's our responsibility, for the very least, you know, document what your family went through so the next generation can have it. And the reason why I feel so passionate about this is because at this point in time, I've already lost like all my grandparents. They're all passed away. And there's so many questions that I still have to ask them, like, what did they do before the war? What did this happen? But as I ask all my uncles and my mom, like, they've forgotten already. That's the thing. Our memories will go. Like, they will forget. But we want these things to live on forever.
Yeah, so hopefully, you know, what Maylys is doing, that will be the start, you know, for us to take initiative and to speak up, you know. And it's not to, you know, put anyone down, or it's mainly just to show your love for your culture, to show your love for your family, you know, because I think these stories is very important for not only yourself but for our culture, you know. So thank you, you know, Maylys, for what you're doing. So I have some more questions. I took a lot of notes, but I just need to organize all this. But,
it's okay.
but if you would go back in time, what would you do? Like, what would you do differently if you had that chance?
Well, I live with my grandma, and like I said before, you know, I wish I had asked her more questions. I didn't realize the importance of stories and my family lineage and what they did until, you know, my grandma started to lose a little bit of her memory. You know, I would have started sooner. If I knew, I would have started when I was like 8 years old. When the first time I wanted to write the book, I was 8. But actually, my parents, they discouraged me against it. They said, "Oh, you don't write a book. You know, there's so many other books out there with the same story." I said, you know, this time you listen to your parents, oh yeah, you're right. But as you get older, no, there's no other family with the same exact story. It's similar for sure, and people can resonate with it, but you want to protect and preserve like your own family's like story from start to finish. If I were to go back and do it different, like the book in general, I would have probably had my mom say it in Khmer. Because I'm realizing now that maybe people don't have the education to read the book. And that's not their fault. Obviously, what happened in the Khmer Rouge was there was no chance to get an education. They were literally forced into enslavement camps and to work for the government. So, you know, they didn't get a chance to go to school. So maybe having it be more accessible to people.
Got it. So having a Khmer writing, that would be amazing. Yeah, we could get all the older generation to read it too. You know? So, and people are so smart because they probably don't know how to read English, so it will probably help them out. But what you said, education, you know, that's very important. You know, during the war, we lost most of our educated people. You know, so I feel like a sense of responsibility. Now that we're here, we have the opportunity and the resources to learn and to educate ourselves, right? It doesn't have to be formal education; it can be self-education as well. You know, so continue learning and growing. I think that way we can honor our family and our, you know, the how was school actually college for you, and what was the most important thing you took out of it?
So for me, like many of the past generation, my mom was like, I just want you to focus on getting a good education. That's the number one thing. They can't take that away from you. And I never got the opportunity to get that. What education does is it opens more opportunities for people. And for example, when my mom first came to America, she couldn't get a job where you had to be educated or speak English. She worked for a seamstress where she got paid a penny for each piece. Can you imagine how long you have to work to build and to make money and support yourself off of that? So for me, when I got to UCSD, I was really focused on school. I actually love school. I love like learning and like really diving in. And I think the skills that I really got from UCSD was from my major, which was communications. And it's really evolved around like how people communicated then and now, and how important it is in every aspect, whether it's business owner, family relationships, like you have to have this ability to communicate. And another takeaway that I got from college was I studied abroad in Italy for 6 months. That was the first time I was ever away from my mom, but it was so much fun. Like I got to take care of myself, and like I remember I worked a lot that summer to save up because I was like, I'm not gonna ask them for money. I'm gonna be self-sufficient. So I saved up money. We traveled everywhere every weekend because when you're in Europe, everything's super close by.
Yeah.
And I feel like that actually opened up my eyes to how big the world is. When you're, when you have traditional parents, kind of like think a little smaller, like I thought for a while I would have to go and just run DKs off the bat, like not from even like getting an education. But I ended up choosing to come back and using the skills that I learned in college to like help the business.
Nice. So speaking of traveling, have you been to Cambodia?
Yes.
How was your first experience?
I've been to Cambodia since I was a young girl. My mom actually goes back and she donates to the schools and to like a lot of the communities there. And we are actually building our second temple in Cambodia, and we're having a big ceremony in the end of December. So if you guys are free and want to come by, it's December 23rd to the 25th. It's in Kampong, and it's basically, we're targeting like the poorest area. We're building the biggest Buddha ever in Cambodia. It's like a huge stone Buddha. My mom also has a temple in Kampot, and she also has other temples all around Cambodia. And because she believes, number one, Cambodia is a very, very holy country. Number two, she actually, and you'll read in the book, after she left Cambodia from her refugee camp, she goes, I'm never coming back to Cambodia again. But I see her, wanting to go back because she sees how third world it still is, how poor it still is. Like when, if you've ever been to Cambodia, when you're in the car and you have the little people coming up to sell like the bracelets or the soybeans. I think it really hit me because one time I went, I was young, she opens the window, she tells them that she'll take all of them, and we drive away, and she looks back at me, she says, I was one of those kids. She used to sell the Chinese donuts and the soybeans.
Yeah.
And it gives me chills to know that that's how hard these Cambodian kids have to hustle to try to make it for their family because the opportunities are very slim there. Cambodia, to me, I feel like there's a lot of rocky roads, and there's a lot of things I'm not used to, like the toilets in the ground and like the mosquitoes and all of that. But when you look at Cambodian culture in Cambodia, it's very, very beautiful. The people are so genuine. Obviously, they've seen a lot of things, but everybody there, it's changed so much too. If you go into Phnom Penh, it's like an industrial city now. It's wild. But if you still go into like the village areas and everything like that, it's still very much poor. But when you're there, I just have more appreciation for the nature there, like how this Cambodian bananas just grow everywhere, and like there's so much produce and like so much beauty in the country, even though it seems so much hardship. But Cambodia is it's a lot of fun.
So you recommend everyone to visit at least once in your life?
I mean, I have friends from all over who have gone to Cambodia and they love it. Number one, it's pretty affordable once you get there. Things are like relatively not as expensive here. Number two, there's again so much beauty, so much culture. So there's spiritual stuff. There's entertainment. There's a lot of different facets to the country, and there's a lot of history. So definitely go to Angkor Wat, which is like the biggest temple. They have so much history from thousands and thousands of years ago, when the Khmer Empire was like literally the whole entire like region of Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I think Cambodia is such a beautiful place, and just be prepared to bring like some mosquito spray. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and the food is also amazing too. So,
Yeah.
but something you gotta get used to. Just be careful with the water, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But overall, it's beautiful. I've been there 4 times, and I learn something new every time. So yeah, I recommend everyone to go there at least once in your life, and go with your family. That's the best. It's more intimate. You'll feel the love. So do that. All right. So let me. Okay. All right. So let's talk about brand business.
Okay.
All right. I know you're an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. And you help build DPS stores where it's at. And I'm sure there's people out there who wants to start a business of their own, and maybe they're sick and tired of the 9 to 5. So
Yeah.
what are some advice you can give people who are starting up to build a brand?
For sure. I mean, I definitely don't hate on the 9 to 5 at all. It's a stable job. You can walk away and not worry about anything. It's a lot less stress. Kind of show up and then do your thing and leave. But the problem with that with me was I was always on like somebody else's time, and I just wanted to create the value of my own time. So that's kind of led me to owning businesses and really liking to be the controlling part of a business owner. But for some tips for you guys who are just starting out your business, number one, I would definitely do your research. We are so lucky to have the internet at this point in time. You can look up how it's been done before. Number two, talk to somebody who's done it before. If you're brand new, you want to ask somebody who's successful, hey, can I have 30 minutes of your time? And just come up with questions and try to look out for the things that you won't have to make those mistakes. I've made many expensive mistakes before. I'm sure you also can resonate with that. Of you don't want to make those expensive mistakes if you can learn that from somebody who's done it before. Number 3, I know a lot of people want to go the route of, how to finance your business. So you can either go with self-financing, like saving up enough money or asking your friends and family. Number 2, you can take out loans. Number 3, there's plenty of grants out right now where you can ask for assistance to really kick off your business. And I would say to try to risk as little as possible, just so you don't have to recover that when you are, owning and operating your business. Number 4, there are going to be many things that you will have to experience, and like Gary Vee says, business owners eat shit every day. It's kind of true. A lot of things that you won't learn from YouTube videos or from other experts in the area is you'll have to go through it. You just have to experience it and go through certain things. Otherwise, you can hire a business consultant who can lead you through the right way so you don't make those mistakes. And number 5, I would say pick a business that you want that type of lifestyle. Either it's something that you can hire a team and so you can have more time for yourself, but speaking from someone who's gone through burnout, worked those 20-hour, 16-hour days, your health is actually more important and time is more important. So really pick a business that you love and you want to get up and do every day.
Yeah, something you enjoy, and once you lose that joy, that's a sign for you to step out.
Exactly.
Right?
You can move on. It's never too late. You see people in their 40s and 50s starting over again. It's not too late to start over.
Okay, so Maylys, I agree. Everything you said. Building a brand it's not easy. It's hard, but once you develop that skill, right? You gotta first, I believe, build desire. So you gotta have some kind of desire, curiosity around that. Once you have a strong desire, and then you can start learning skills. What are some skills you need to learn around that, right? For example, if it's videography, okay, I need to learn how to video edit. I need to learn how to, edit photos, whatnot, right? So once you get the skills, then you're applying all that knowledge. You're learning about the markets. You're learning about the industry, So all that combined, you will end up building a routine and end up creating habits. So the habits is the most important. And once you create those habits, I think everything will come to you. So I believe I believe in that. And so everything you learn about yourself and your family history and your reality in general, what you've been through. What's one thing our listeners can do right away to help them overcome any adversity they're going through, any obstacles they face? What can they get out of? How can they get out of it?
I believe that we are all going through something, whether it's a personal thing, it's something that's happening at school, it's something that's going on with your family. And just know, especially if you're this first, second generation, when you're here, there's generational trauma that you're probably going through. Generational trauma for me is defined as our parents went through something so traumatic and so many atrocities, and they didn't deal with that feeling. They didn't know how to deal with it. Mental health is definitely a low priority for our community. So when they had us, they unknowingly passed it to us, whether that's physically through the womb or how they parented us.
Yes.
I would say that nobody's perfect, it's not like your parents have this manual of how to be the perfect parent. They were also trying to figure it out in a whole new country, not knowing the language, and so on and so forth. So for all of you out there who, are trying to overcome adversity, I would say really either take a step back and figure out what is your mindset routine. How do you stay in a positive mindset? Because at the end of the day, that's really what matters, is to stay super positive and to really take responsibility. So when I say being positive, it's not pretending to smile and going through life and being kind of fake about it, but it's from within. Ask yourself the questions what makes me truly happy? What am I here on earth for?
Yeah.
Do my actions align with my goals? How can I better myself so I can be the best version of myself for the people around me? Because you have to pour into your own cup before you pour into everybody else's cup.
Yes.
So that's my main point of advice.
Yeah, I believe self-care is self-love. Once you take care of yourself, you're able to take care of others, So I agree with you 100%. To add on to that, it is acceptance, right? Acceptance of the good and the bad, right? There's no wrong or right. I don't believe there's no one path to success and happiness. There's so many paths, right? So just accepting for what happens in your life, it is what it is. I kind of live by that, the sunrise, right? The sun will fall at night, the moon will rise at night. When a storm comes, it will rain, it will be thunder, So it's all a part. I believe it's all a part of the universal law, and that's what I believe in.
I think also just to add on to that, self-care comes in the form of different things for people. Sometimes it's journaling. Sometimes it's seeking, a therapist, someone to a dedicated listener. And I think the most important thing is invest in your own personal development. I didn't really know about personal development until I was around 25. And it's been the best thing that's actually helped propel my success moving forward. It's just finding those, if it's a course, if it's something where it has you really confront the things inside of you, definitely go for it. If it's something that's scary, but it's good for you, go for it. Because your comfort zone will always hold you back. But also, that's yourself holding you back.
Yes, I agree. Personal development is, wow. When I learned about that, it opened up my mind. I was lost for so long until I realized that that was actually out there. You go to school, college, read these books. It's something you're not really into.
Yeah.
It's formal education, formal books you're reading. But when you dig into personal development and reading these books, you actually get to know their story and what the challenge they've been through, and you can learn from other people through their by reading their books and listening to them, on podcasts,
Audiobooks.
audiobooks,
Yeah.
so very important. I recommend you guys do that. Okay, so another question, with your mom, you worked with your mom for so long. You guys built a strong bond, a strong connection. You also have a brother, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Working together as family. What's the main lesson that you learned, the most important lesson you learned from your mom overall?
Oh my gosh, my mom has taught me a lot of things, and I say she's a dragon mom because she's like never really like sweetly talked to me before, and I'm sure you guys can resonate, especially Cambodian or Chinese culture. They're like kind of yelling all the time. Working with my mom, what I realized with her and me was she's the leader, right?
Yeah.
She's the leader. She knows exactly what she needs. I know that I am also a leader, and we might butt heads sometimes. Why? I'm from a totally different generation than she is, and she's gone through different things, and I've gone through different things. But the most important thing is to come to compromise. Compromise is not a really easy place to get to until you make sure that they understand your point of view and vice versa. When you have a stubborn mom like my mom, she believes she's always right. I mean, who doesn't, right? Like we always think we're the one that's right. But you have to take into account her experience, right? She's been in business for X amount of years. And then you have to take account in my experience. I went to school and had different experience. So I felt that we could always run into like a certain kind of compromise, especially when we were doing business things together.
Yeah.
And that's really important. And also, working with your family is probably one of the hardest things to do because you just have so many obligations. Like family obligations means that you might feel guilty that you didn't help them out on the weekend, or you said no to them, or vice versa, or whatever. But at the end of the day, there's always love. And I would just try to say, pick your battles really wisely, because you don't have to win every battle. You can let them win some, but the most important ones, you definitely fight for those because you have the experience around it.
That's great. What I got out of that was family. Even though we're not seeing eye to eye, we're arguing with each other. We're still family, and that's the most important. Never forget that, right? So that's the very important lesson I've learned too. But I never lost. For me personally, I never lost hope. I never gave up. I always stayed true to my values and make sure my actions are aligned with my values. That brings me happiness, So that's good to hear, Maylys. And let's to end. That's actually a lot of questions I've asked. Sure.
You can ask
I have
me.
more questions, but I don't want to take too much of your time.
Okay.
I don't want to take too much of your time. But to end, I have a final question.
Okay.
All right. Before we end, I would like to ask you one final question. At the end of your career, or towards the end of your life, your retirement, and you're ready to stop working, relax, or maybe you're not, right? Maybe you're gonna keep going on, right? So, what's the legacy you want to leave? What do you want? How do you want people to remember you by? What do you want to be remembered by? So.
I guess I'm like in a bunch of years later, hopefully, when I'm retired or like at the end of my life, I want people to understand that compassion and kindness are the two most important things in this world, in whatever you do. And family is so important at the end of the day. You can't choose your family. That's a big words of advice. You can't choose your family, and to accept them for who they are. Because if we're talking about the past generation, they went through so much. And if you're talking about this generation, we also went through a lot because we're dealing with our past parents' generation and trying to get them up to speed, but we're also dealing with our own assimilation in our communities here. And I don't know, I want to be remembered for being the donut princess who had an agenda, the agenda of like promoting culture and family and having people be present to the things that really matter outside of this world of superficiality. I feel that our stories and our families, like, we should continue to honor them in our own artistic ways, whether that's writing a book or writing them a song or honoring them in any other way. I just feel like they deserve that. And you know, when we as later, when we're parents, you know, I hope that our children find a way to honor us as well.
So we want to pass it on to the next generation. Hopefully our kids can do the same thing for us.
Yeah.
You know, so one last question. I know I said I'll do one. Where can we find you? You know, I'm sure people want to know more about you.
Yeah. So if you guys are on Instagram, my name is at Maylys Childhood. That's MAYLYTAO. You can also follow my Donut Princess brand, which is at Donut Princess LA. That's at DONUTPRINCESSLA.com or Princess LA. And then also we have a website, donutprincessla.com, MaylysChow.com. You can add me on LinkedIn. Definitely happy to chat if you guys need any support. But yeah, follow me.
Yeah, we'll add the descriptions. The information in the descriptions below. In the meantime, hopefully you guys can like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. We will be posting on YouTube and on our social media content. You know, give us a tag. Tell us what you like about it, what resonated with you. And share it with your friends. You know, we would like to hear your response. So hopefully this interview shed some kind of light and help you with your life and help you achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. So hopefully I'm optimistic. I know we will get out of this, and I just wish you guys the best. Be proud of your race and where you come from. Just look at how far we've come. That's all we can